my kings, queens, and in-betweens. I'm Valerie, and welcome to my channel, The Bookish Valkyrie. So, I have been wanting to do this book tag, the BookTube Newbie Tag, for quite a while, and it just felt right. So, I am in my pajamas and I have my tea and I am trying to wind down, but I'm feeling very chatty. So we're having a cozy little chatty tag video today. Alright, so the first question is, why'd you start this channel? So I have wanted to start a BookTube channel since I learned that BookTube was a thing. So since like 2015, 2016. But I just never had the time or the energy. And I have recently, as I've mentioned in previous videos, found myself with quite a lot of time on my hands and a need to kind of reset. And I figured that if I started this channel now, when I get to the point where I am working back up to a more normal activity level, I'm really hoping to be able to do that, then I will have this already going. This will already be in the works, and I won't have to find space for it because it is what is taking up space for my time now and priorities now. Basically, I have a lovely spaghetti bowl of maladies. Apparently, when you have autoimmune disease, any autoimmune disease, there is a tendency for there to be several buddies that come along for the ride, or that started the ride in the first place. Chronic conditions, in my case, sleep apnea and and trauma, and a chronic case of strep throat, and a lot of things. All combined with some large triggers to bring my autoimmune disease into being, and now everything is just linked. And so I'm working on several different parts of my health to get better. I had a combination of bad luck, bad health, and a need for change that led me to being unemployed. Basically, I had meds that weren't working. I went from a med that was underperforming to a med that flat out didn't work. And before I could be switched to another med, I went and got COVID. And I got, my autoimmune disease is psoriatic arthritis. So on top of my bad joints that were extra bad due to lack of proper treatment, I got COVID joints. And the exhaustion of recovering from COVID, on top of the exhaustion of autoimmune disease, on top of severe depression and generalized anxiety and ADHD, just all came together to make me jobless. That was a lot longer than I expected that answer to be. But moving on. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? So I feel like my perspective is just a little bit different than a large majority of the booktubers that I am cognizant of. I am biracial. I am alternately spiritual. I am bisexual, demisexual, pan, but that kind of, for me, is kind of interchangeable with bisexual. I know some people disagree, but for me personally, they're pretty much the same thing. And I am living, like, I have lived in the city. I grew up in the city, but I am living in a rural area, and it's an area that I have, like, deep familial connections to because my grandparents are from here, my mother's from here, and I have some deep connections here, and I've lived here now for 8 years, and I am seeing how different accessibility is for somebody in a rural area versus somebody in a more urban area, and I feel like that's a perspective that I really don't see here on BookTube, and I feel like that's a perspective that's valuable, and there are so many people in rural areas that are forgotten so far as, like, accessibility and needs are concerned, and so far as book community stuff goes, I think that's the kind of unique perspective I can bring to things. And then so far as fun goes, well, we'll see. Right now I am busy overcoming my anxiety and figuring out my niche. My niche. I don't know how you say that word. I'm gonna go with niche. So anyhow, yeah. I'll talk about that more in a later question. The third question is, what are you most excited about for this new channel? Honestly, I am so excited to get to the point where I have a lot of community interaction. I really just want to join the conversation and get to know people who can give me new perspectives or share similar perspectives, and I just want to talk books. I just want to talk books with people who love books because it's so much fun. Especially once I'm comfortable enough to get past my anxiety and just be myself. I'm getting there. So we'll see. We'll see. Next question. What do you love about reading? So many things. So many things. Okay, so first of all, I just love the escape. I love delving into other perspectives, other worlds, and I love the ability to work through scary things in a safe way. I love horror because I can work through fears and scary situations and work through hang-ups that I have come with things that I've dealt with, or am dealing with, or will be dealing with, and in a way that is safe, because if it gets to be too much, I can always just put down the book, set it aside until I'm ready to finish it, or even just flat out DNF it, because it may just not be for me. I love that it broadens my perspective, it broadens my ability to understand the people around me and the people that I know and the people that I will know, and I love that it gives me the ability to express myself, because it's a language of its own. A literature is a language of its own, and when I can talk to people who speak that same language, it's so exciting and so much fun, and it gives me an automatic common ground with people that I maybe am just meeting, have never met before, and I think that's exciting and fantastic. So yeah, that's the big points of what I love about reading. There are so many things, but I think those are the big heavy hitters of what I love about reading. Let's see. The next question is, what book or series got you into reading? Oh, that's a tough one, because my relationship with reading had a very rough start. I think probably due to being an undiagnosed ADHDer. In my early years, I had a really, really difficult time learning how to read. It was a struggle. I was in resource, or whatever it is that you call it where you're from. Here in Utah, and during the time that I was growing up, it was called resource. And basically that meant that I was in a one-on-one, or a group up to 3, including myself, so me and 2 other kids, learning reading at a different pace with more individual attention. And it took me a long time to figure it out. And the thing that helped me figure it out actually was when I was in 3rd grade, my teacher read books to us. Up until that time, teachers, if they read books, they only read the really short kid books, which makes sense for the age group. But in 3rd grade, that was when my teacher read chapter books to us and full stories to us. And she read James and the Giant Peach to us, and The Lion's Paw, and mythologies from different cultures. She read The Great Brain to us. It was all really formative, but and I loved all of those books. But I think that the book series that I first just really fell into and discovered a long, abiding love for books and reading was probably the Enchanted Chronicles, the Enchanted Forest Chronicles. And there was just something so refreshing about a princess who wanted to learn unprincessly things, and a dragon who was a woman and could become the king of the dragons because it was a job title and gender had nothing to do with it. And the idea of worlds where there are places that are more magical than the places around them, but somehow they're all part of the same world, and just all the possibilities that were available in that series. A witch who didn't melt when you threw soapy water on her because she was such a tidy person by nature. Why would she melt if you threw soapy water on her? But other creatures, other beings, who I won't mention specifics for because it's, I think, a pretty big spoiler for the first book. But there are other beings that do in fact melt with the right combination of water and other ingredients. And it was just this beautiful combination of logic and magic and normalcy and extraordinary things all in one beautiful bow. I still to this day love that series, and I think it has aged very well. I think it was well above its time, beyond its time. Yeah, that was definitely my gateway drug, I think. All right, so moving on to the next question. Tough one. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? Okay. That's tough. I've always had a tough time like having questions prepared beforehand. Like if I were, in a live meeting with booktubers and the conversation was flowing, I would find so many questions naturally. But preparing questions in advance, there's a reason that I am not a reporter. Let's see. If I had the opportunity, I would ask Ashley from Bookish Realm how she manages to read so much and read so broadly and not have it all just turn to mush in her brain. She always has such intelligent, beautiful things to say about the books that she reads, whether she likes them or not. She's always got something insightful, some sort of insightfulness to bring to each book that she reviews. And she reads such an intense quantity of books. It's amazing. And I don't know how she keeps it all straight. Maybe she's just built that way. She's just that brilliant. I don't know. But I would love to pick her brain. I would ask Kaale from Books and Lala, what graphic design tools does she use? What programs does she use? How does she come up with her guesses of book covers? How does she do all the fun things she does? I would just pick her brains about how she does everything. She's just so professional and so good at bringing beautiful aesthetics to all of her videos and her photos on her Bookstagram, and I just would love to pick her brain about the technicalities of how she does what she does. I don't think I could ever be a booktuber like her because we are built differently, but I would love to know how she does what she does. And I think I would probably ask the same question of Gavin from Gavin Reads a Lot, or Gavin Reads Everything. He recently changed his channel name from How to Train Your Gavin, and I'm having a tough time remembering exactly what it is. I would ask him the same questions that I would ask Kaale, but I would also ask him how he comes up with his content ideas, because he is just so fucking brilliant and creative and entertaining, and I would love to see how he comes up with his content ideas, because it's just mind-blowing to me. I would ask Reads with Rachel how she prepares her reviews, because she's always so structured and well organized and well thought out in all of her reviews. It doesn't even matter if I agree or disagree or some combination of the two with her opinions on things. It's just so fantastic the way that she manages to break things down into such logical and digestible parts and pieces. And I would love to know if she has a system to how she goes about reviewing her books. That's all I can think of right now. But I would love to have all of those questions answered. So, moving on to the next question in the book tab. The book tag. What challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be hardest to overcome? I think that the number one thing that I will have the hardest time overcoming is my anxiety and awkwardness due to that anxiety on camera. I think I am getting there by painful inches, but I think that my channel will be very different once I have been doing it long enough that it's just natural, and long enough that I have gotten over the anxiety that I feel every time I turn on the camera. And then the next hardest thing, I think, is going to be figuring out my niche, and figuring out exactly what my content is going to look like, figuring out the shape of my place in the BookTube world. I think I'm kind of starting to get an idea of how I want my channel to be, but it's not solid yet. The lines are very squiggly. And then the next question is, when did you start reading? So, like, the very beginnings of reading was in third grade, like I had said earlier. But I think that it really took off in like the end of fourth grade, beginning of fifth grade, because that was when I found the books that really just sucked me in. It was the Enchanted Forest Chronicles, the Song of the Lioness Quartet. It was the Nancy Drew books, which I fully intend to. I have collected the first, I think 6 or 7 volumes of the particular iteration of Nancy Drew that was what I grew up reading. I remember reading it in class when I was supposed to be paying attention. I had it tucked inside the cubby of my desk and just was reading it, like pulled just a little bit out into my lap, instead of paying attention to history or math, which I struggled with both dramatically. And I just could not like pay attention, but I could read. I could read Nancy Drew, and I could read Greek mythology, and yeah, it was that would be when reading really became a big part of my life. Okay, moving on to the next question. Where do you read? I read pretty much everywhere. I read here in this chair. I read on my couch. I read in bed. I read in the car with audiobooks. I read while doing dishes with audiobooks. I read while I'm shopping with audiobooks. I read a lot of audiobooks. Everywhere and everyone that I get the opportunity, I'm reading. Okay, so what kind of books do you like to read? I like to read fantasy and horror and romance and sci-fi and mystery. I have a very leery relationship with thrillers, and I'm not very good with classics, but there are a few that I manage, like Jane Austen and Agatha Christie, but in small doses, very slowly. I think that for me, a big part of what I'm looking for is connection with characters, fast pace, and if I'm not getting a fast pace, I really need to do like I need to have like a really strong connection, like an emotional connection to the story, to the characters, to the subject that's being explored. Otherwise, I have a hard time moving forward through the book. I do enjoy nonfiction, but I'm pretty much exclusively audiobook with nonfiction, because I fall asleep like a couple paragraphs in to a nonfiction book. Reading physically, I'm gone. It's like instant Valium. And that's just the way I'm built. It's nothing against the nonfiction books. I love nonfiction books. I do not read a ton of them, though, because it does take me a long time to digest them. So when I read a nonfiction book, it takes a while for me to get through it, and then I spend a lot of time contemplating it afterwards. So very slow on the nonfiction. So I pretty much am interested in most genres. Like I said, thrillers are not quite my thing, but there have been some thrillers, aka the reading, aka the Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. Fantastic. It really hit everything that I needed to make a thriller work for me. The pacing, the interest level, the connection with character. But yeah, I just have a tough time with thrillers. I also don't particularly care for suspense romance or most dark romances. Nothing against anybody who does. It's just not my cup of tea. The big exception on the dark romance front being the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. That's just perfection. So there's always an exception to my dislike rules, but yeah, I read pretty broadly. And that was the final question in the book tag, and I guess that's it for the video. You guys have a great time, a great life. I don't know, I need to figure out a sign off, but I wish you guys the best in all of your endeavors, whatever they may be, and I'll see you in the next video. Stars shining bright above me. Night breezes seem to whisper sycamore tree. Dream a little dreamer. So I think the number one biggest... Oh, stop that. My dog thinks he needs to hump my other dog. I am unimpressed, and so is she. Anyhow, moving on. And I love... Stop it. Quit it. Stop that. They're trying to gnaw each other's legs off. Stop. Okay. The gremlin wars continue. She sounds like he's getting her, but he's nowhere near her. Okay. Maybe I can talk now.